So I may have just done it again, but 3 times. Roll the flashback clip.
My final score prediction for this game is going to be Garrigan 62-38. My final score prediction for this game is going to be Bishop Garrigan 78, Belmont Clemmy 41. I think Garrigan will win this game 71-52.
So that happened. And that also happened. And yeah, that also happened. So it was kind of a rough week for predictions. Welcome back to BG Game Preview. I'm your host, Lucy Eisenbarth, and last week we kind of went over 3 on the predictions. It was a rough week, but we are going to look to this week where Garrigan will play Lake Mills, both in boys and girls, and Eagle Grove as well. This Saturday, they also have a game at a neutral site on Iowa Central's campus versus Coon Rapids Bayard. We're going to look to all of these predictions and hit recap on all of last week's games. Before we get into it, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below your prediction for these games, or if you agree with my predictions, and also anything else you want to see me cover from the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into hitting recaps on last week. Your Garrigan girls basketball team comes out of last week with an 84-4 victory versus Belmont Clemmy. This game I had them predicted as 62-38 and winning. I really did overestimate Belmont in this game and really did underestimate our Garrigan girls. This game really was just Garrigan's game from the get-go, going up 27-0 in the first after the first quarter and going up 50-0 at halftime. Garrigan only shot 4 shots in the entire first half and did miss all of them. Finally, in the third quarter, Belmont did score their first basket, and Garrigan scored 19 more points. And finally, Garrigan scored 15 in the fourth quarter, and Belmont scored their second basket of the entire game. Garrigan goes on to win this one 84-4, and let's look at the stat line side of things for your Garrigan girls. Leader in points this game was junior Graceland Eastman, going 10 for 12 from the field. 10 for 12 from the field while making all 3 of her free throws. Next leader in points was Alyssa Hogland with 15, going 6 for 10 from the field with 3 from 5 from 3. Finally, rounding out the point stat is sophomore Addie Ferris with 12 points, going 5 from 6 from the field and 2 for 3 from 3. Looking over 2 rebounds, your leader is junior Graceland Eastman with 6 rebounds and 4 steals. Next leader is Madeline Tiggis, a sophomore, with 3 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 7 steals. And finally, rounding out the rebounds list is sophomore Brooklyn Birdie with 2 rebounds and 4 steals on the night. Leader in assists is Emmy Bartolo, a senior, with 5 assists to 0 turnovers. Next is Madeline Tiggis with 4 assists to 2 turnovers. And rounding out the assist stat is sophomore Addie Ferris with 3 assists to 1 turnover. Unfortunately, I do not have Belmont Clemmy stats from this game. I really did underestimate Garrigan in this game. That defense really went to work with 40 steals and 7 blocks. I mean, I really did just underestimate them in this game. I really did overestimate Belmont Clemmy, I won't lie to you. And I will take the hit on this one. That was a very interesting game to watch. And it was just very dominantly won from Garrigan. Like I said in the last video, you can see a lot more from these sophomores. Madeline Tiggis going in as a starter, got the starting spot last year as a freshman. Going to come into this team and is going to put up very good minutes, having 3 blocks and 7 steals in the last game while also having the second most assists on the team. She's really just going to put up good numbers for Garrigan this year. And then looking at the sophomores coming off of the bench, you've got Addie Ferris having the 3rd most assists and 3rd most points on the team. Going 2 for 3 from 3 is really good, while going 5 from 6 from the field as well. You got Brooklyn Birdie coming off the bench as well with 3rd most rebounds and 4 steals, which is really a game changer in this game. You can see a lot out of the sophomores that are coming up, and some of the more sophomores that you can see getting more minutes this year. Obviously, you've got your seniors who are obviously stepping up. You've got Emmy Bartolo, you've got Sasha Olish, who already had huge roles in this offense, who are just taking the extra step this year and are really bringing that leadership to this Garrigan girls team and are really overall just bringing it together. You've got Graceland Eastman down below, who's really just, again, bringing this team together, getting the points. She's your person down low if you want to easy bucket. You've got senior leadership coming off the bench, like I said before. Ava Rothler, Alyssa Hogland. Alyssa Hogland scoring the second most points to the team this game, going 3 from 5 from 3. Again, that's an incredible stat line. Going 6 from 10 from the field. She made a lot of buckets in this game, and I think we can expect to see stuff like this out of these players in the next couple of games and for the rest of the season. Wrapping up that win, we're going to go over to the guys' recap rewind in their 61-73 victory versus Belmont Clemmy. This game was a lot closer. It was obviously closer than the girls' game versus Belmont, but Garrigan still came out with the win. Unfortunately, Garrigan does not have their stats in for the guys for this game, so I will have to skip that part of it. Garrigan looked really good in this game. They looked pretty fluid. They did struggle with the Belmont offense a little bit, but they were able to hang in there and still get a 12-point victory, which is a very good scoring margin for a team like this. Belmont, I think, will be a sneaky team in the conference, and overall just in 1A this year. I do not think that they will be well-bound or that they will make the playoff in any stance, but I do think that they will be a team that could pull off some upsets and kind of play spoiler for some of these teams. I think they could get some tough wins, and I do think that they won't be a bad team this year, and Garrigan getting a 12-point victory over them to start the year is a good note to start on. The final recap rewind of this for last week is Garrigan's 63-67 loss versus Western Christian. I think this is the first time I've ever covered a Garrigan loss in a sport besides volleyball. Garrigan dropped this game and will go 1-1 on the year. It was a very, very close game until the very end. It's starting off 20-20 after the first quarter. Then Garrigan going up at halftime 34-31. They really kept it close until the very end, where Western Christian would take the lead 67-63. I later found out that Western Christian was the 2A state champs last year. I was not aware of that. And I also was not aware of just kind of their whole team structure and just kind of how they run. No one really knew what to expect out of them. As they graduated a lot of starting production last year, a lot of their starters were seniors. I do believe that almost all of them were seniors. So no one really knew what to expect going into this game, and Garrigan has never played a team like this before. Neither team has stats in for this game, but it was a very hard-fought game from Garrigan, and I do think that this was just a fourth-quarter mishap where you just kind of got into foul trouble. You just started kind of making some mistakes. And overall, not a bad game at all, a 4-point loss to the 2A state champs from last year and the number 5, I believe, team from this year. If I'm wrong, I'll correct it, obviously. Put a note up there, but that will push Western Christian to 2-1 on the season, and your Garrigan Bears will fall to 1-1. Since we have 3 predictions for each team this week, we are going to try to make them short and snappy, so this video is not 3 hours long. Starting off, we are going to look at both of the Garrigan teams' Lake Mills predictions for this week's game on Tuesday at Garrigan. Lake Mills enters this game undefeated at a 3-0 record with a win versus Belmont Clemmy 60-22, a win versus West Hancock 56-43, a win versus Newman Catholic 46-44, and we're going to look at the stat lines for these teams. Leader in points for them is Junior Coruscant with averaging 18 points per game, shooting 42.5% from the field and 38.1% from 3. She also has a 75 free throw percentage. Leader in rebounds is also Coruscant with 6.7 rebounds per game. Leader in assists is Coruscant, again, averaging 3.7 assists per game, 3.7 turnovers, for a 1 assist to turnover ratio. Looking at the rest of the stat lines, which I won't go into too much depth on, we seem to have a pair of sisters that are on the team, both seniors, maybe a pair of twins, but that is a very interesting dynamic. Both appear on the season leaders chart. Some pretty key parts of this team, especially being seniors. Mackenzie Budach is another name that I keep seeing. She is a junior. She is on the points list and the assist list as well. Lake Mills seems to be a really, really good team. They seem to have a lot of really good scorers, a lot of really high percentages from the field, and a lot of really, really good three-point shooters. Garrigan will need to be able to lock down from 3, as that seems to be one of their key components. They also need to just be able to kind of guard all around. I mean, Garrigan They also, their tallest girl on the team is 5'10". That is Kate Betchel. And I do think that she will be down below trying to get buckets. If Grayson is able to be on her and stay out of foul trouble, I think Garrigan will win this game pretty dominantly. I think Garrigan will have a really, really good chance to win this game. Lake Mills is number 11 in 1A going into this game. And I think it's going to be a very, very good matchup between the two teams. Overall, looking at efficiency for Lake Mills, they are just very efficient. They seem to get a lot of defensive rebounds, and they seem to be able to pass the ball around and kind of get some ball movement going, get it to the different shooters on their team. This will be a very tough matchup for Garrigan, but I do think in the end Garrigan will be able to prevail against them. Lake Mills has always been good, but again, I do just think that Garrigan will be able to pull out the win in this game. Looking at past scores, Garrigan won at Lake Mills 51-28 in the third game of the year last year, and then won in January at home 47-37. I think we can kind of see a score that is similar to the second game, a 10-point victory, or something maybe even closer. My final score prediction for this game is going to be Garrigan 67, Lake Mills 52. I think that turnovers will be a huge killer for Lake Mills in this game, as they have 40 turnovers on the season so far and seem to turn over the ball a decent amount. I think Garrigan will be able to force turnovers as well, more than usual, as we saw versus Belmont and in the past couple of games. I think that the Garrigan defense is really going to go to work and be able to lock down from three and be able to also lock down below. I think Garrigan's offense in turn also is going to score a lot of points and is just going to be an offensive weapon. From the 3-point, you've got your 3-point shooters like I've mentioned in multiple videos, like Sasha Alish and Emmy Bartolo, and also some of those, sophomores that come off the bench that shoot really well from three. Alyssa Hoagland shoots very well from three as well. You've also got girls that can just make mid-rangers too and just get good shots off. I overall think that Garrigan is just going to be very, very efficient in this game, and they are going to win this game 67-52. Moving over to the guys' game versus Lake Mills. Lake Mills, for the guys, enters this game at 1-1 with a 60-57 win over West Hancock and a loss 89-83 versus Belmont Clemmy. Like I said, Belmont is one of those sneaky teams that will try to play spoiler for some teams and will get some tough wins. Looking at stats for the Lake Mill guys, Nash Delger, a senior, is scoring 21 points per game, shooting 35.3% from the field and 35.7% from three. Leading rebounds is Lucas Helgeland, a junior, with 12 rebounds per game, 5 offensive and 7 defensive. Finally, leading assists is Nash Elger, yet again with 4 assists to 4 turnovers for a 1 turnover ratio. Garrigan again does not have any stats in for this game and for the season, so I cannot really compare stats between the two teams. This game will be very tough for Garrigan. I think it will be similar to a Belmont style of game. Not so much a Western Christian, but more so the in-between and happy medium between Belmont and Western Christian in playing styles and just overall competitive toughness. Having a player scoring 21 points per game and also shooting 35% from both the field and from three is very, very hard to stop. You've also got other guys looking just at the point scoring list. You've got a guy shooting 19 points per game and 50% from the field and 44% from three. And then another guy, a sophomore, Lane Hegland. Looks like we have another pair of brothers with a junior and a sophomore, Lucas and Lane Hegland. Lucas shooting 19 points per game and 50% from three, like I had just mentioned, and Lane shooting 37.5% from the field and 44.4% from three, while scoring 18 points per game. Lake Mills seems to be a very, very offensively efficient team, and they seem to just really be a scoring team. On the defensive side, maybe where they lack, and maybe where Garrigan can win this game with guys like Amari Thomas down below, Michael Joyce and Carter Schwab from three, and overall just in the mid-range aspect of things, and other guys like Tate Furch that come out and do very well and score a lot of points. I do think that overall this will be a very tough game for Garrigan. Their defense will have to be very on point. They will have to kind of shut down these 3-point shooters and these mid-rangers and people down below. Garrigan did win both of their games last year versus Lake Mills, and I think that in a similar fashion. We will see similar scores comparing last year's games to this year's games. I do think that it will be a close game, and I am going to take Garrigan to win this game 62-55. I think that Garrigan will get the 7-point victory here, and I think that their defense will be able to lock down and kind of limit this Lake Mills offense. In turn, I think Garrigan is going to be able to take a hold of opportunities on the offensive side of the ball, as Lake Mills defense does seem to be a little bit lacking in some of the defensive stats in overall just steals, blocks, and all of the other things that go into this. One thing Garrigan will need to avoid in this game are turnovers, as I do think that turnovers will be a huge, huge killer for Garrigan, and if they lose, that will be their downfall. Overall, I do think that Garrigan will win this game, and I'm going to take them 62-55. Moving over to the girls' game versus Eagle Grove this week, we're going to take a quick look at this game. Eagle Grove enters this game 1-2 with a loss 52-28 versus West Hancock, a loss 68-24 versus Forest City, and a win 91-6 versus the Clarion Goldfield Dows. Clarion, I don't believe, played a season last year and finally had a team this year. Eagle Grove won that game very dominantly, but we are going to move over to their matchup versus Garrigan this week. Looking at Eagle Grove, Tatum Edwards, a sophomore, leads them with 24.5 points per game. Going over to assists, Ellie Lenning, a sophomore, leads them with 5.5 rebounds per game, and she also leads the assist category with 3 assists to 6 turnovers for a 0.5 assist to turnover ratio. Overall, just taking a quick look at stats, I do think that Garrigan is going to win this game pretty dominantly, and I do think that being the number 2 team in 1A and overall just being a very, very dominant team on defense and on offense, I think that Garrigan's going to be able to force a lot of turnovers, and they're going to be able to win this game in a pretty dominant fashion. I think that Grayson Eastman will be able to get a lot of easy buckets down low, and I think that the 3-point shooting from Garrigan is going to be on point for this game. They'll be able to force a lot of turnovers and get a lot of steals and blocks like we saw versus Belmont. I think Garrigan is a very similar team to Forest City. We can see a similar score like Forest City had versus this team. Without further ado, I'm going to take your Bishop Garrigan Golden Bears 72-25. I think that Garrigan is going to win this game pretty dominantly, and I think that we are going to see a lot of offensive production from the Golden Bears. I think on defense they'll be able to just, again, force a lot of turnovers and really overall just make a lot of opportunities for themselves to get more scores on fast breaks like we saw versus Belmont. 90% of Garrigan's points in that game were on fast breaks, hitting Grayson Eastman or Emmy Bartolo down below after a big steal to just really put up a lot of points, which we saw in that game. Without further ado, we're going to look at the guys' game versus Eagle Grove. Eagle Grove enters this game at 1-2 with a win 69-62 versus West Hancock, a loss 68-57 versus Forest City, and a loss 81-54 versus the Clarion Goldfield Dows. Leader in points for them is Adrian Whipple, a junior, with 19 points per game. Leader in rebounds is Gavin Peterson, a junior, with 8.3 rebounds per game. And leader in assists is a senior, Elijah Friedel, with 6 assists to 3.7 turnovers for a 1.6 assist to turnover ratio. Again, I can't compare stats as Garrigan does not have their stats in from the past couple of games, so it is kind of hard to judge just based off of a stat line point of things, which is where I make a lot of my predictions, especially for teams that I have not watched this year, like Eagle Grove. I think that Garrigan will be able to put up a lot of points in this game, and I think they'll overall just be able to kind of get some easy points on the defensive side. If they are able to force turnovers, I think they'll be able to get some easy fast break points, which will lead them to a win in this game. I think that Garrigan is going to win this game, and I'm going to take them for my final score prediction, 72-61. I think that Garrigan will be able to pull out the win, and I do think that they will be able to limit Eagle Grove a little bit in their offensive game and just be able to force some turnovers and get some easy points in that general area. I do think that it will be a decent game to watch, and I do think that Garrigan will come out with the win. As if this video couldn't get any longer, we do have one more prediction for this week, and that is the neutral site game, Garrigan versus Coon Rapids Bayard. We're going to look at the girls and then the guys, and that will be the end of this video. Garrigan enters this game at 2-0, and Coon Rapids Bayard, the number 14 team in 1A, enters this game at 2-1, with a loss 43-33 versus Kemper Catholic, a 46-30 win versus Woodward Granger, and a 60-25 win versus Patton Churton. Leader in points for Coon Rapids is Anna Hart, a senior, averaging 16 points per game, shooting 30% from the field. Malia Clayberg, a senior, is averaging 7.3 rebounds per game to be the leader for them. And leader in assists is Anna Hart, again, with 4 assists to 4.7 turnovers for a 0.9 assist-to-turnover ratio. Looking at this team, they seem to be pretty well-rounded in all of the stats. Scoring seems to be a little lower than most teams that Garrigan would play. They seem to be kind of more of a defensive-sided team. They do seem to turn over the ball a lot, which I think will be a killer in this game for Coon Rapids. They seem to be able to get a lot of steals, and they also seem to be able to get a lot of rebounds down below both on offense and on defense. I think that rebounding will be a huge part for Garrigan in this game, as they will need to out-rebound Coon Rapids, and they will need to overall just make their shots and not be put in a position where you have to throw up a bad shot and get the rebound 6 times, which is not really something that we see from Garrigan, but it can happen to anyone. Garrigan's shooting will be a huge factor for this game, as Coon Rapids is going to have to lock down versus Garrigan. They're going to have to be able to stop Graceland Eastman. They're also going to have to be able to stop the three-point shooters out on the wings. Coon Rapids seems to be a very overall well-rounded team with a more of a defensive edge than most. The Crusaders are 14th ranked, like I said when introducing them at the beginning of this segment. As a team, they only shoot 29.5% from the field and 22% from 3. Garrigan shoots 50% from the field and 32.7% from 3 in both those categories. They outweigh them in those categories, and they also shoot better from the free throw line. Coon Rapids is just a very defensive and rebounding team compared to Garrigan's really just offensive powerhouse shooting team. Garrigan also does get it done on defense, obviously. As you see, they can force a lot of turnovers and get a lot of blocks, but I do think that it will be Garrigan's offense that outweighs Coon Rapids in this game. This will be a test for Garrigan and for Coon Rapids. I do think that it won't be the toughest test for Garrigan, as they play Lake Mills later in the week, but a couple of tough matchups this week for Garrigan. With that, I'm going to take for my final score prediction your Garrigan Golden Bears 58-42. I do think that Garrigan will still win this game pretty high scoringly, and I do think that it will take a step back because of the defensive side, but they will still be able to sink their shots and get a good lead on the Crusaders, and overall just to win the game. I think that the defensive side from Coon Rapids will give them an edge in this game, and I think that they will be a very tough opponent, and they will try to stay in there with Garrigan. But kind of similar to the St. Ed's game, I do think that Garrigan will overall just slip away, and I do think that they will win this game 58-42. The final prediction for this week's game is again Coon Rapids Bayard, but for the guys this time. Also at Iowa Central on their campus, we're going to look at how Coon Rapids Bayard got here and going to look at the prediction for this game. Coon Rapids is 3-0 entering this game with a win 54-49 versus Audubon, a team that Garrigan played at the Dome in football and ended up winning to go on to the championship game. A win 69-46 versus Woodward Granger, and a win 77-25 versus Patton Churton. Looking at stats for the Crusaders, Kale Hayden leads them, a senior, with 27.7 points per game, shooting 57% from the field and 50% from 3. Kale Hayden also leads the team in rebounds with 11.3 rebounds, and leader in assists is Bryce Lewis, a junior, with 4.7 assists to 2.3 turnovers for a 2 assist-to-turnover ratio. Coon Rapids seems to be a very rebounding team like the girls, and they also seem to be able to force a lot of turnovers with 39 steals on the season, but only 2 blocks. They also seem to give a lot of turnovers, as they have 35 right now and are averaging 11.7 turnovers per game, which could be an edge for Garrigan on the defensive side if they can force those turnovers. They do seem to be a very, very good shooting team, and I do think that will be a huge thing for Garrigan, is locking down on defense and really just locking down the 3-point, as they have a guy shooting 50% from 3, and they overall have a 30% field goal percentage, and in the field have a 46.2 field goal percentage. I think that shooting for Coon Rapids is going to be their edge, and overall just rebounding for Coon Rapids is going to be a very big factor into this game. I think that Garrigan's factors into the game are going to be locking down on defense and just being able to, again, like I said, versus Eagle Grove, get fast break points, get it to Amari Thomas down below, just take any opportunity that you can to score, and overall just to put up some points and maybe get an edge to win this game. Unfortunately, I do think that Coon Rapids will be able to outweigh Garrigan in this game, and in a close one, I think that Garrigan will lose this game 67-62. I think that it will just be a matter of Garrigan getting points on offense and just being able to move the ball around without turning the ball over. I do think that forcing turnovers could be a key factor for Garrigan in this game as well, as they need to force a lot of turnovers if they want to win. They'll need to get a lot of fast break points, and they'll just need to be able to take every opportunity that they can. And overall, they need to be able to be on point with their rebounding to out-rebound Coon Rapids Bayard in this game. I think it will be a very, very close one, and I do think that they will lose in this one 67-62. Without further ado, that is the end of this week's video for BG Game Preview. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below if you agree with my predictions, and what else you want to see me cover on the channel. If you have your own predictions, you can put those down below as well. 3 and 30 will be coming out this week, and again, I will be trying to get the football outtakes video to come out this week. I just haven't had time to edit the whole thing together, but it will be coming out soon, I promise. There's one more shout out that I want to give for the end of the video. I wanted to give a shout out to the Bishop Garrigan Golden Bear dancers who finished first in Class 1 Palm last week. Garrigan also finished second in Class 1 kick for their routine, and soloist Delaney Fessler-Onderfer finished third. Congrats to all of the girls, and especially to Delaney for her third place finish in the solos category at State Dance. Without further ado, this is Lucy Eisenbarth signing off on BG Game Preview.